Hello everyone, it's Mr. G, and I'm back to bring you the second video from the Java Beginners tutorial. In the last lesson, we went over a few of the basics. We did variables and data types. We did comments and printing to the console. And these are some of the most basic building blocks of programming. Um, just a short review. A variable is basically a container that can hold a value, and that value can change. And it needs to be in Java, it needs to be of a certain data type. And that's what these words over here mean. And there's just different ways of representing the data. Then we have comments here, which I didn't get into too much detail in the last video, but basically they're for programmers' eyes only. The compiler just completely ignores these. It just won't even look at it. So these are really good for leaving yourself notes, leaving another programmer notes, so we can know where your head is when you're programming it. And this command here, system.out.println, basically outputs whatever's in the parentheses to the console here. So that's what we did in the last video, but now we're going to move on to the next part. And today we're going to learn about objects and classes. And so in Java is what we call an object-oriented programming language. And what that means is it's basically centered around objects. And an object can be anything in your program that does something, serves some kind of function. So, if you're making a calculator program, it can be the calculator itself that has all these, it has fields, what we call fields, which are variables, and basically behaviors, which in Java we call methods. But in other programming languages, you'll hear functions or something like that. So let's just get right into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this new Java class button and make a new class. And I'm going to name it, um, we'll say animal. Okay, have an animal class. And now, what are some things that an animal has? Okay, so an animal might have, let's say, a color. Every animal has a color. So, how would we best represent a color? I think when we look at our data types, I'd say a string. So, say string. This is the data type, and then the variable name needs to be something that's descriptive of whatever it is you're representing. So we can just go color. We can just say color here. Put our semicolon. Okay. What else can an animal have? I would say maybe number of legs. So how many legs would an animal have is best represented by a number. And I would say, generally speaking, a whole number. So we'll go with an integer here. Number of legs. Now, if you notice, the way I typed this one out, this variable name, it's 3 words. And it's good programming convention or practice to do each word, the first letter needs to be capitalized, but the first letter of the first word is lowercase. That's why I can get away with doing that one lowercase. Just something to know there. Um, let's just let's do one more. Let's do a true or false. So, we can also do kingdom, right? Which part of the animal kingdom it's in. So whether it's a mammal or a bird or something. And then has eyes, maybe. We'll, we'll stick with these for now. Now we could do a million different variables for animal, but just for the sake of this video, we'll just keep it there. Okay, so we have these four variables, these four attributes that every animal has these properties. Each animal has a color, I guess, except maybe like a jellyfish or something, which is transparent, but we'll ignore that for now. A number of legs, and that can be zero. A kingdom, which part of the animal kingdom it's a part of, and whether or not it has eyes. Okay, so we'll leave that there for now. Now, um, we're just gonna keep this one really basic, but uh, I am going to have to show you guys how to use these objects, how to use these classes. So you make a class that revolves around any potential objects that are going to be in your program. So if I want to make a list of, or just make an animal or something in my program, maybe my program is some software for a zoo or something like that, an aquarium. We can use this animal class to keep track of each individual animal. So we're just gonna ignore this for now, and now I'm gonna have to show you how to create objects. Okay, so in Java it's a little funky, but uh, it'll all make sense later. So I want to make an animal object, so we'll say animal, and then we'll just call it animal. So animal is the object type. This is the variable name here, animal, and then it's going to equal a new animal. And then you have to put some parentheses there and your semicolon on the end. Okay, cool. Now we have a new animal, and the variable is animal. So we can start to mess around with some of these variables that are internal to the animal class. So we can say animal. So you notice I use the lowercase that matches the variable here. Okay, that's very important. We want to use this animal variable so we can access all of the fields from this class. Okay, and then we put a dot here. And if you notice, the first four things that Eclipse recommends are the four variables that we created inside the animal class. So we're going to just choose color for now. So we're going to set the color. We're going to assign the value of the color of the animal to, let's say, green. And remember, since animal.color is a string, then we need to surround the value in double quotes, and then put our semicolon. Now we can set all of the variable values in the same manner. So the other one was kingdom. Oops, kingdom, and this is also a string. So um, let's say our animal is a reptile. That makes more sense with it being green. Okay. Uh, Number of legs, we'll put 4, and it definitely will have eyes. Equals true. So we can actually just set all of these, and to prove to you that all of these variables are set to what I said, here, we can print them out. So system.out.print line, and then we can put animal.color. Okay, so remember in this method, this is a method, this system.out.println. It's a command, and it'll allow you to print to the console whatever's on the inside of here. This is a variable. These are all variables, and they're variables of this animal object, this particular animal object. Okay, so let's run that, and we should get green, and we do. And the reason why is because we created this animal class that has these four fields, and we set them all here, and we set the color to be green, and then we called that color when we printed it here. So we can substitute color for kingdom, and this should be reptile, and it is. And if we do has eyes, we should get true. And if I change has eyes to false here, and we run it again, now it's false. Okay, so this is how that works with objects. And you can have multiple animals. Okay, let's create another one. Animal, animal 2, I guess, equals new animal. All right, and let's have animal 2 um, color equal, let's say blue. 2 kingdom, this one will be a bird. And this one has eyes. Don't think there are any flightless or eyeless birds out there, but maybe one of you guys knows whether or not that's true. So if you notice, we only put the double quotes around strings. So up here, for our integer variable, we don't do that. Now, if we try to put in 4.67, we're going to get an error here because um, it cannot convert from a double to an integer. We said when we created this animal class that this number of legs variable is an integer. So it has to be an integer. The input that we give it has to be an integer or it won't work. And was it number of legs? We'll say 2. Okay, so we can print out, let's just copy this. We can print out animal 2, and so the first animal, the has eyes variable has a value of false, whereas this one is true, so it should print out false and then it should print out true. And that's exactly what we get here. So that's how that works. It builds basically what objects and classes do are they take anything that can be in your program. Like I said, it can be an animal, it can be a calculator, it can be something that loads files. It doesn't have to be something that specifically corresponds to something in the real world. But what it'll do, you build a class around that object, you give it some fields, and we'll eventually learn how to give it behaviors and things that you can do with those objects. And with that, you give those fields or variables, which is what we learned in the first lesson. And yeah, you would build the program around that. So in the next lesson, we'll talk about some of those behaviors that the objects can do in your program. And you code all of that within the same class. This has been Mr. G. Hope you guys have a good one.